Hello, guys. Welcome back to the AcidDropPodcast. I'm here with a very good friend of mine, Luis. Come on, Luis. You know,
What's going on, guys?
don't
Nice to meet you. My first time on here.
be the last. Don't be the last. Today we're going to talk about some NFL and some NBA. We're not really going to get into some boxing today, nor some MMA, just because there just hasn't been like big fights lately. The first thing I want to talk about is the NFL. So we saw that the Buccaneers beat the Packers 2 weeks ago, and that the Chiefs beat the Bills.
Yeah.
Who do you have winning it? Who do you have winning the Super Bowl, bro?
Um, Probably right now, just my gut feeling. Um, I have the Bucks winning.
Okay, okay,
Um, probably by probably by a field goal.
okay.
I'll
Oh,
say either a field goal or under or right under. It's going to be a really close game.
okay, okay.
I say we get probably another Brady comeback, or not a comeback, but he has the ball last 2 minutes, takes him home
Yeah,
to win it all.
Magical Brady.
Yeah,
What do
I
you?
just
Go ahead, go ahead.
yeah. No, I was just saying, I just feel like that's the way it's gonna line up. Most likely, um, it's really just gonna be whoever has the ball last. If Mahomes has the ball last and they're trailing, they're gonna win it. If the Bucks have the ball last and they're trailing, the Bucks will win it.
Okay, okay. What do
It's
you?
gonna be. I feel like it's gonna be a game-winning drive.
Oh, so yeah, I feel you. I feel you, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like the person who has the possession at the last, like in the last minute.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
What do you think the Buccaneers have to do in order to win the game?
Um, they just got to do as much as they can as disguising blitzes, coverages. I mean, the Chiefs have two of their left tackles out. Two of their tackles out. They got the left tackle out and the right tackle out.
Okay, okay.
And Jason Pierre-Paul and what's his name, Shaq Barrett, they're
Uh-huh.
edge rushers. So that's all advantage for them. So they really just gotta keep Mahomes out of, um, getting his face, keep getting his face, um, just make him work for everything. Because
Okay.
Tyreek and
Yeah.
Travis, they gonna get them. They gonna get there. They gonna get there. So
You
you
already,
gotta do as much as you can to slow Mahomes down.
yeah. Well, on the previous episode, I was talking about how the Bills did a terrible job on keeping Mahomes off the court, like off the field, and
Yep.
they weren't really running, like wasting down the clock or anything like that. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
in my prediction, I feel like my like in my point of view, I feel like the Buccaneers have to keep Mahomes off the field in order.
Yep.
Obviously, like you said, that he has really good players surrounding.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like you said, Tyreek Hill is gonna get his. So for them to in order for them to, I feel like the Buccaneers to win, they really got to keep Mahomes off the field.
Yeah, man, I agree. What's the name? Fournette's gonna have a big game.
You think?
They're gonna have to just pound the ball. Keep Brady on the field for long drives.
Mhm.
They got to kill that time possession because Mahomes is. They remind me a lot of the Warriors
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
football wise because they can just strike out of nowhere. Like,
yeah. They can get it going easily.
yeah, just out of nowhere, man. Like fucking in a playoff game, they scored 28 against the Texans in one quarter.
Yeah, yeah,
It's just, and then last week against the Bills, they had scored. I think they were down 10-0 first quarter. Came back halftime. It's 21-10. Like
yeah.
that's just like
I was already hitting panic mode on that.
yeah. That's what I told you. I was like, relax, bro. It's Mahomes. Like it's just that's just how they are, bro. It's just with Travis, Nicole Harmon,
Yeah, yeah.
Tyreek Hill. They just track stars, man. They can get out there and start running.
I feel you, man. I know that I think like in the first quarter, whenever they played the Buccaneers this season, I think he had like 200 and something yards in the.
Yeah, that's a game he went off. Yeah, in the first quarter, he had 200 yards. I think
Yeah,
two touchdowns,
I remember you. I
like
remember.
9 receptions. It was like, the fuck.
I remember you were telling me like, "Hey, bro, why are you having him benched?" He was
Yeah. Fantasy. Yeah, man.
all right. Well, moving on into the NBA. The first game that I want to talk about is the Blazers and the Bulls. I didn't really watch that game, but you were telling me how it was a very close game. That, up until the end, where I think you said that Damian Lillard hit a three.
Yeah.
So walk us walk,
Zach Lev- Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
walk us into that. What you saw that they did right in order to get Damian Lillard open.
I mean, it wasn't really doing any necessarily the Blazers were doing right. It's just Dame himself. He was pulling up from like 30.
Oh shit!
Like there was the shot before the game winner.
Uh-huh.
There was like 10 seconds left. He hit one from 30, like where the logo would be
Logo.
on the side. Um, it, they're down by 5 at that point. He bombs up. It looked like a bad shot, but I mean it's Dame, so like that's his shot, man.
Yeah.
He's comfortable shooting from that far, so and then that cut it down to 2. They inbound it to Zach Levine. He gets pressure. They force a jump ball. I think it's Trent Alexander Arnold who wins the tip.
Mm-hmm.
He passes it to someone, and then I can't remember who it is. They end up passing it to Dame, and Dame just fades away, heading into the crowd, or not the crowd, but like
Yeah, into the
the
stand.
sideline.
Oh, okay, okay.
Hit a 3, just right over. I think it was marketing. There's just nothing you can do to stop that, man. Like he had hands up, but fading away. It's a 3. You gotta live with that shot. It's a tough shot.
Like Paul George, huh? That's a fast shot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Paul George was right. It was a bad shot, but I mean, Dame. It's a bad shot for like 99% of people. But I mean, Dame loves those kind of like
Yeah, like in that moment, game.
Yep.
Yeah, he's very comfortable shooting from like you said, like 30 feet out, which is fucking
Yeah.
like for him just to like pass the half court. You already have to guard
Come
him.
up. Yep.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
into space. He's just gonna drain that three, like you said.
Yeah.
Especially like you said, like on the game winners, he lives for those.
Yeah. That's why it's so hard for players to guard like him, Curry, just because. I mean, if you set a pick that high, the big usually not gonna come help. They're gonna wait for the other big to come down. I mean, that's just free. That's a free shot for Dame. And same thing with Seth.
Because obviously, if the big does come to help, I mean, he's leaving the paint open.
Right, and then that's an easy layup for the big man.
That is true. So moving on to the King. It was Jimmy's first game back. I feel like the Heat really missed him, man. Like I think they were like they were doing pretty bad without him. And like
Yeah.
I think he dropped like 30 on his first game. I
Yep.
could be wrong, but
No,
man,
you're right. Yeah.
I really love seeing that man ball, bro. Because he's to see where the Heat were without him. Everybody everybody was like saying, "Oh, he's bad." Like he's a bad teammate. All the bad
Yeah.
that was around him. And then
Mm-hmm.
last year, whenever he took the Heat to the finals, they had no business going there. And I mean,
Right.
he's showing people that he's just a winner.
Yeah.
And I feel like that a team like that really missed him. Like because I feel like although he might not be the leader, like on the court where he's like constantly asking for the ball or anything like that, but he's like whenever it's crunch time or something like that, like fourth quarter, he's gonna go off.
Yeah.
Rely on him because he's just their scorer.
Yeah. And the thing about Jimmy is he's the perfect person like to be in Miami.
Mhm.
With Pat Riley, and Eric Spoelstra, they love tough players who go out there every night and compete. That's exactly what Jimmy is. And I mean, whenever you for the Heat perspective, whenever you miss your leader like that, it's just a lot of times going into the game, you're just kind of like, damn, like, we're missing our top dog, so
Yeah.
it's tough. So I mean, they're NBA players, so they're ready for it. But Jimmy's a hell of a player. He's so what's it called? Underrated
Yeah, I feel you.
because he's actually really selfless.
Mhm.
He doesn't, he um,
He's not like
he's
wanting to always have the ball in his hand.
right,
Like
and even that, like he'll guard the other person's best player,
yeah.
even if he's not, taking the last shot or
Mhm.
he's guarding the other team's best player. So,
And what do you think about Bam Adebayo? How do you think he's doing this season?
oh man, he's killing it, man. He's easily top 5 big man in the league.
Right
You
now?
can make a case for top 3 probably, but he's he's also so much to that team. He's in a way it's kind of like a small ball that they kind of have going on.
Yeah.
Because Bam is so athletic, man. He can go end to end so quick. He can guard, 1 through 5 if they pick and roll switch.
Yeah.
He's a good pick and roll defender. Like
That team is a
crazy, man.
very good defensive team too.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said,
Yeah.
Bam. And I mean, although Andre isn't getting them starter minutes like he was with the Warriors,
Mm-hmm.
he's still a really good bench player for them.
Mm-hmm.
Still having like a very good a very good defender coming off the bench, on crunch time or something like that. Even though he might not be giving you the same points that he was whenever he was with the Warriors, but I feel like
Mm-hmm.
to have like a bench like they do, where it might not be like big name stars, but I feel like you said, Pat Riley and Eric right there, they have a very good team.
Mm-hmm.
They did a really good job with the Heat. They,
Yeah.
like you said, Jimmy's a very good, he's a positive player, and you've seen we've seen it here with the Heat, where he's turned his team into a very good contender, and hopefully they can run it back this year. That's one of the
Yeah.
that team is very interesting to watch. And
Mm-hmm.
one of my favorite players from there is their sophomore player, Tyler Hero. He might
Good
have,
bucket, man.
yeah, he is a bucket man. Although he might be off at one days, but I see it a lot that Jimmy tries to tell him like, "Hey man, like don't worry about it. That's your shot. Keep
Mm-hmm.
like that's very. I feel like like as a leader, for you to tell your players like, "Hey man, like just keep going forward." I think
Yep.
that shows very good. That gives your teammates confidence. Like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, I'm gonna look past this shot. I'm gonna just hope I know that whether I miss one, my teammate got my back.
Yeah. Yeah, and then kind of to piggyback off that, what's it called? They're just also a really well coached team. Uh, when they had, I think most people had the Bucks winning against the Heat.
Mhm.
But they used basically Toronto strategy, clog up the paint for Giannis, and let someone else beat you. I mean, that's honestly the way to beat him, and I still think it is. I still don't think Giannis has enough help, but
So
no discussion.
moving on to that's a very good setup to the next team that we'd like to talk about, which would be the Bucks versus the Hornets.
Mm-hmm.
We saw that the Hornets beat the Bucks by a pretty good margin, by 12 points. Um, Giannis had himself like a very good night. I mean that's Giannis. He's gonna get himself 30 buckets, like 30 points a night. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, whenever it comes in the playoffs, we've seen that teams, we saw it with Toronto first, where they just like you just said, they clog up the paint, and it's really hard for him to get it going after that.
Yeah.
How do you see the Bucks being like? Do you think they're they're a contender, or are they just gonna make like a deep playoff run?
Um, I think they probably get eliminated second round again.
You think so?
Um, yeah, I mean, I just don't see Giannis getting a mid range or a 3 point shot by from here to the end of the season.
The consistent.
Because that's really what he needs, or he needs like another. Drew Holiday's nice, but I still needed it. I still think they should have got CP3 on the offseason. That would have been a huge pickup. Just because CP can put Giannis in the right spots. Um, that way he's not just Giannis is just jumping the ball up the court all the time. That way the defense is not just set on, let's stop Giannis. Chris Paul has,
Yeah,
like high IQ, man. It's insane. So I don't think the Bucks make it past second round, to be honest. It's really just the same team with Drew Holiday. Um,
yeah, they just traded Bledsoe for him.
Yeah, man. I don't really see them getting up past second round.
Okay. I don't know if you've been keeping up with the Hornets, but man, like that team is a very interesting team to watch. Not just because of obviously like the hype around Lamelo, but like the team like what's his name, Gordon Hayward. Man, that man, I think
He's been blown out.
yeah, that was a very good. I feel like he's going back to his days where he was, I think, with the Jazz, I believe.
Yeah.
Like I think whenever I mean, he was with the Celtics, but whenever you have like too many how do you say it, like shot creators like that, like like
Like
Jason,
ball dominant players.
there you go, ball dominant players. I mean, like obviously you were expected to see his points per game drop.
Yeah.
Now that he has his own team, I believe that this is his team. But like like his points are going like his points per game are going back up to how he was playing with the Jazz. And I mean, like going into like Lamelo, bro. Like I was seeing, I think it was like a play where he just like alley ooped it to, I think it was like Terry Rozier, and that man just dunked the fucking ball, bro. That shit looks so nice. Like I said,
Yeah.
that team right there is just very interesting to watch. And I mean,
I,
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just saying that what's it called? That's what I was hoping to see from like Lonzo,
Yeah.
what Lamelo's becoming right now. But I mean, obviously, like I don't know, but seeing Lamelo ball like the way he is right now, like that's fucking dope, man.
I think he's getting his first start tonight. Because I know in that game against the Bucks,
Mhm.
uh, Terry Rozier went out. I think late second quarter or early third quarter.
Yeah,
He went out with an injury, so I think today was Lamelo's first official start. I'm not sure how he's doing right now. I can check, but today's his first official start, I believe.
well, he had himself a very good night with the Bucks. He had himself a 27-point game. And
Yeah,
bench, bro, like that's pretty crazy. Although
yeah,
he's getting like starter minutes, but like all
mhm,
still coming off the bench.
yeah.
What do you think of that? Like, how do you see that? Like, do you think it was time for him to? You think they waited too long to put him in a starting lineup, or do you think it's now that it's getting closer to like the half of the season, midway?
I think. I mean, Lamelo is still. I think he's 18, right?
Um,
18, 19. I think
19,
19.
19, I think.
He's still really young. But I mean, now that the opportunity presented himself with Scary Terry being injured,
Yeah,
I think it's going to play a big role and with the Hornets and what's it called? I mean, just I'm looking at it now. They beat the Heat.
yeah, they did.
They beat the Heat in overtime.
Yeah,
So he's is when you have he's just a really good floor general. He's kind of like Lonzo. He's basically Lonzo like with an offense basically. Because Lonzo, I mean, he has an offense, but like it's just not the same as Lamelo's. Man, Lamelo's just
it's not consistent.
yeah,
I see sometimes. I mean, I see that Lonzo is like still too hesitant, where he's like,
yeah,
he's wide open, but like, he sees that the players leave him open. So I feel like, Like I don't know if he gets frustrated or something like that, but he just, he doesn't have confidence. I believe, like, you know what I mean. Like you see the lack of confidence in him at times.
Yeah.
He like ends up like instead of taking that wide open three or like he would take like not necessarily a bad shot, but I feel like something or something like that. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Lonzo, um, he's got to be more aggressive.
Yeah,
Um, that's really like offensive. He's a great defensive player, but offensively, he needs to be just a little bit more um, aggressive, just to take the load a little bit off Zion and Bi.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think Lonzo was a little bit more. Um,
I feel like the hype is the what like
yeah, that too.
causing. I feel like this right now.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
kind of fucked him up as well. I feel like his rookie year, he couldn't really. I mean, the whole world was watching him, man. Like LeVar set him up to be, had him better than Curry. So it's a big target on your back when you got someone on national TV every day telling you how great your son is. So it's he had a big target on his back. So I
yeah,
mean, it is what it is.
yeah. You can't like whenever they set you up like like that. I feel like it's very hard to like be able to like produce your very first.
Yeah.
So like yeah, I understand that.
Mhm.
Moving on to the Lakers and the Celtics. We already talked a little bit about the Celtics. How whenever Gordon Hayward was with them, how he was
Mhm.
shot touch and stuff like that. But man, this game specifically was a very good defensive game.
Mhm.
Like it wasn't a high scoring game like we're used to seeing. Nowadays where it's like 129 to fucking 120. Like you know what I mean?
Bro. Mhm.
It was actually like I think it was like 95 to 96.
I think they're both under 100. Yeah, I believe.
Yeah, and what's it called? I mean, I think it was Jason Tatum's like second or third game back.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, because he just got back recently.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
what are you thinking about the Celtics, man? Like, I mean, obviously Lakers, like there's really hard to like to say that they're not a championship team coming like when they're coming off the championship.
Mhm.
But like what do you think about the Celtics? Do you think they're because we saw them last year that they went to the conference finals, but we saw that the Heat beat them. Do you think they have a potential to run it back?
I mean, uh, during during playoff time, um, I really don't doubt that Jason Tatum and what's his name, Jalen Brown, they're gonna do their thing. But to me, it's really up to
Kemba?
Kimba. You know,
Okay.
he's got to be a consistent third option just for them to
To thrive.
stay in that mix.
Yeah,
Because I mean, Jason, like I said, Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown, there's young studs, man.
yeah.
Um, it's really just on Kimba, man. Like if Kimba
As
can
a
take the load off them a little bit, create shots for them, get them open, that's gonna relieve a lot of pressure off mostly Jason Tatum because he's a focal point of that offense. Um, but yeah, man, I think during playoff time it's gonna come down to what's his name, Kimba. It's
Absolutely, yeah.
gonna be
Because
the main.
in the game with I'm looking here at the stats right now. In that game with the Lakers, Jalen Brown had himself 28 points, while Jason Tatum had himself 30 points. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're very good. I mean, they're very good ball dominant. Like they're very ball dominant, but at the same time, like you know, it doesn't slow the production of the other player. Like yeah, Jalen Brown might be like ball dominant, but at the same time, like Jason Tatum also gets hit. Like
How much did I don't think I mean, what's his name? I keep forgetting his name.
Kemba,
Kimba. Yeah. How much did he?
he
What
had
was this at? 4.
yeah 4 points. And see, like
That's what it is, man. Like that's what I'm saying, like you gotta have that third option to like just help them in those tight games. Because I mean, that's the Lakers. That's a title contender.
Yeah,
And Kimba did take the last shot. I believe AD had the last shot. I think Jalen Brown strips him
yeah,
like off a backside help. Um, and then, but then again, I'm also not sure why Jason Tatum didn't run the floor. Because down the stretch, he was the hottest guy they had out there. Like he had made the previous 2 buckets. I think previous 2 or previous 3.
yeah,
Like
yeah. He was
he
cooking.
had scored one on AD. Yeah, he had scored one. He was cooking. And if I'm Jason Tatum, man, I'm running down to that floor and I'm getting that last shot.
Yeah, I feel you, man.
Because man, if that's the game you can win, that's a huge like confidence builder moving forward in the season. It's always like a big boost knowing you need to just beat the champions.
And
So it's
even if that shot doesn't go in, like we saw that last year that the Lakers were giving AD the ball, like last minute,
mm-hmm.
and I mean it came in handy, like whenever it came in the playoffs, we
Yeah.
saw like drained I think like a three. I don't know if it was against the Rockets or something like that, or if it,
Yeah, I think so. I think it was the Rockets.
where he like I think it was like to get him the lead. I believe. I don't remember, but I
No,
know.
I think it was the Nuggets when he hit the game winner.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Whenever he hit that,
Yeah, it was the Nuggets, I believe.
and like like you were saying that, like if you're, like Jason Tatum should have gotten that last shot,
Mm-hmm.
like for him to get ready, coming to the playoffs, because
Yeah.
teams are gonna be. I feel like, I mean, a lot of people say that defense is like the defense shows up more in the playoffs than they do during the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
That's when the games actually matter. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that that during the season they don't matter, but you don't want to risk injury. You don't want to risk like fatigue. So like hardcore basketball starts in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like if you see that your shot is, if you're already comfortable with taking that last shot, you're not gonna like think like, oh shit, I'm not ready for it.
Yeah, and I mean, Kimba, like you said, Kimba had 4 points. I think he was like what, 1 for 8, 1 for 9.
Um, I think he was actually 1 for 12.
1 for 12. Look at, I mean, like if I'm Jason Tatum, you got to run down that court and just try to get yourself
Yeah,
that shot, man. You still had 9 seconds. I think when they stripped it, he had like 8 seconds. So you still have plenty of time to run down there and
mhm.
get you a shot. I mean, I get it's LeBron guarding you, but either um, Jason Tatum makes a play or Jalen Brown has to find a way to get open
Yeah.
as well because he can hit that shot as well.
And yeah, I mean, like Daniel Tice had a better game than Jason Tatum. Like you know what I mean? I don't know if it was Montrez or if it was AD guarding him, but I mean, like you can't let. I mean, I don't want to say that you're. I feel like if you're Kimball, you can't let like your center outscore you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially if it's like Daniel Tice. Not even that scores, just outperform.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
if you're not gonna like shoot the ball well, at least contribute somewhere else.
exactly.
But
And yeah, he had himself, I believe. Well, he got himself 4 assists, but like like you said, I mean, he still has to go 1 for 12. Like, kind of that's kind of bad in Kemba's standards.
yeah, hold on.
Okay.
My bad, I'm back.
So moving on to the Clippers versus the Knicks. I mean, now that we saw that the Jazz's streak ended, they
Mm-hmm.
jumped towards the top of the. They're actually the best team in the NBA right now. Do you think that will hold, or do you think that later on in the season, like the Lakers can come back, or another team can just take the lead?
I think it's still pretty early. Um, the Clippers do like to manage their players the way, they're not gonna have them. I know they fucked it up last year with doing that, with having them not play back to back and not getting the team like fully equipped. Like they only play like 12, 11 games
In
full
chemistry,
lineup.
yeah.
So their chemistry goes a long way in the NBA. So
Hmm.
and they didn't really have any of that because in the playoffs, um, against the Nuggets, it was really just Kawhi, man. Like Kawhi was the only one doing that offense. So like Kawhi was really just everyone was just kind of standing still. They weren't really running any plays. It was all kind of ISO, but
When it came,
it's a little bit with coaching. It's a little bit also with chemistry.
mhm. I feel,
But I mean,
go
I
ahead.
think I think I believe the Lakers will go back on top as far as seeding wise.
Mhm.
Clippers will probably be right behind though. I feel like it'll be Lakers 1, Clippers 2, maybe Jazz 3. By the way they're playing right now.
Okay.
Um, but that's how I see it going. I think I see the Lakers going on a run because AD hasn't really been playing that well.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously that's
Like
not.
obviously not to hits like Sanders, but
Yeah,
um,
I feel like
when he gets back on the groove, they'll be fine.
he's like top two, big man in the league behind Giannis. But
I got more Rihanna to be honest.
well, yeah, just because he has like more offensive weapons, like where like he's not just well, he just doesn't have to just drive. I mean, he can hit a mid range and he can hit a three. Although it might not be consistently, like he still has that in his bag. But what do you think
He's a
of
great defender too.
exactly? Yeah, there you go, there you go. What do you think about Kawhi's performance this year, though? He dropped
I mean,
28. He dropped 28 this against. Although obviously it wasn't like I don't want to say a bad team because the Knicks have been playing really good. I feel like they might be
surprisingly,
yeah. I mean
mm-hmm.
they don't have that big of a star besides Julius Randle. You know what I mean? But I mean obviously I don't know how far that team will go, but I mean, I feel like they might be a playoff, a playoff team, eight seed or something like that. But I don't see them like obviously like advancing to the second round or anything like that.
Yeah, they might sneak in if they can keep this up. They'll probably sneak in the 8th seed. Um,
But
but I mean,
my,
you're playing the first seed, so you're probably gonna play either the Nets, Bucks,
mhm,
Celtics. So I mean, I don't see them being any of those teams 4 times.
I feel you. But hey, man, like I know that a lot of people want to see the Knicks back into the playoffs.
Yep. Yeah.
I feel like that'd be a very good, just a very good like a very good stepping stone moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
You already know that you have a very good team. Not a very good team, but you have a decent team around that. Like
Mm-hmm.
Julius Randle and stuff like that. But I mean, like going back to the Clippers, like like you were saying that last year they were having trouble because like like you said, Kawhi was literally like their only offense. But and I mean, we seen this last year with Paul George where he goes off in like during the season. You think that
Mm-hmm.
uh, the way he's playing this season, you think it'll lead towards the playoffs as well, or do you think he'll like like how he tends to do, like just disappear?
I think um he had a full off season to train. Um, he didn't have any shoulder surgeries this off season. Um, so he was saying he got back with his trainer that when he was in MVP contention with the Thunder.
Yeah,
So and he's been playing nice too. I've been looking at him. He's been playing pretty good. But like I said, it's all just about consistency. If you can keep it up in the playoffs,
exactly.
because I mean you can't let the same thing happen what happened last year. Just them isoing in. Kawhi basically creating your whole offense.
Yeah, once
But
like
yeah,
the teams like obviously they're gonna focus whenever they see that Kawhi is like their main scorer. Like if Paul George isn't like like how we were talking about with the Celtics. Like if Paul George isn't there as a second option, then I mean like there's only
yeah,
so much that Kawhi can do.
yeah,
You know? I mean,
yeah. They got a great team, but it's really just up to them too. They can carry the load in those playoff games where it gets tough. Um, I think they could probably meet. We can actually get an LA matchup in
this
the
year,
conference this year.
man, like I know a lot of people were hoping for that last year,
you
but
know.
the Nuggets, like surprisingly, like
Mm-hmm.
came back again, like from a 3-1 deficit, which is crazy, man.
Yep.
They're back to back,
Yeah.
crazy. But
And I don't want to take too much. Like, I believe it's like it's weird because we had people in the bubble just we're just kind of acting different. Like we had T.J. Warren
yeah,
acting like he was the second coming of Michael Jordan. And then we had the Suns. I mean, the Suns were good, but we had them. They go undefeated.
yeah.
Um,
I know a lot of people wanted them to be the 8th seed over.
yeah. Um, I mean, not to discredit Dame, but he gets the bubble MVP, and they lose first round. I mean, they go up against the champions, but I think they only got like one game.
Yeah,
Everything in the bubble was kind of weird. So I kind of just, not to put an asterisk on the Lakers title or anything, but that's kind of its own thing right now. I think I think it's actually a good thing that the Clippers blew that lead last year.
yeah.
Because they were kind of just acting like,
That they were,
like I said, they were just waiting for the Lakers.
yeah, that they were.
That was their top priority.
Yeah,
Um, and, their team is basically matched up to play the Lakers.
yeah,
Like basically, what Houston was doing back when the Warriors were on top, they built that team to beat the Warriors,
mhm.
not anyone else. So that's kind of what the Clippers are doing right now. They know the Lakers are their
The team.
top team, and I mean Kawhi and PG are easily. They can if they're both on their shit. Like I think they can beat the Lakers. It's gonna be 7 games though.
Yeah,
It's gonna take 7 games.
4 wins.
Hmm?
Like 4 wins. You know,
Yeah,
pretty hard.
yeah. It's pretty hard to beat LeBron 4 times
Yeah. I
in a
mean,
row, or not in a row, but like in the series.
Kawhi did it with the Spurs, but I mean, he had Tim Duncan back then, so I
That was his. Kawhi wasn't their first option on offense.
don't know, man. But hey, he still won Finals MVP. He was a
Yeah, I
monster.
mean, whenever he was guarding LeBron wasn't playing up to
I was I believe that was
standards.
Defensive Player of the Year, Kawhi. And I mean, obviously,
I don't
like
remember.
I believe so. Like, but obviously, like his, his defense isn't as it used to be. Well, not it still is like great, but it's not as it used to be. Just because he has like a bigger load, like on the offense. You know what I mean? Like he's their first option.
Hmm.
Obviously, like I don't want to say that he's taking it easy on the defense, but I mean like you can't focus on both and like expect to be like like produce on both ends.
Yeah, and then just with Kawhi's health, it's tough
Yeah, exactly.
to be to do both right now. That's what I'm saying. PG really has to. He's been playing good.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, it doesn't matter till it's playoff time.
Yeah, exactly. But moving on to the Jazz and the Nuggets, do you believe that the Jazz are a legit contender? I mean, you were saying that you had them on to be the third.
I got him as third seed, but I really don't have him as a legit contender. Um,
You think they're
I don't think they have enough to beat the Lakers or
or
the
at least,
Clippers in the 7 game series.
so you don't think they'll make it at least to the conference finals or something like that?
Mm-mm.
You think
Probably
they're
second round.
missing like another piece?
Yeah, I think they need like a pretty good, say probably three player, like three or four spot. Um, Someone who can like just a 3 and D, like a really good 3 and D guy, or a couple more of those.
So you're talking about like a small like a forward
Just
position.
like a small forward, yeah, like a forward position.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah, they just like a pretty good one. I think that's what they're missing to get like an actual contender.
yeah, because obviously, like whenever it comes to the time, like who's gonna guard like LeBron or AD, because like obviously, like I believe that I don't think Donovan Mitchell will guard him.
And it's not even about guarding; it's just making. If you're going against the Lakers, which most likely, I mean, you probably have to run through the Lakers most likely, or the Clippers,
But,
and you need. It's not just about guarding them too, but you need to work. You need to make them work on defense, and like you need to tire LeBron much as you can tire Kawhi, PG. So I mean that's right now it's all on Donovan Mitchell.
yeah,
Because I
and
mean Kawhi and PG they ain't guarding Rudy Gobert. Um, I think AD can still.
do
I
work.
think AD is way too quick for Rudy Gobert.
Mhm.
I think when they played last year, I think AD almost dropped like 50 on Gobert,
Oh shit.
like 40. I know he dropped 40, but I can't remember if it was 50. It was
Yeah.
he can't guard him.
And I mean, like like you said, I mean, they got Bogdanovich, which is was a really good forward.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Yeah,
mean, I don't believe because whenever they went up against the Nuggets, he scored them 29 points. But I don't feel like he's gonna drop that in the playoffs, like you said, whenever he has to go up against LeBron or Kawhi, those type of folks.
yeah.
But I mean, moving on to the 76ers, they're actually the best team in the East right now. Do
Yeah.
you think that will hold, or do you? I mean, I know that you said that you believe that the Nets are the team to beat.
Um, for right now, uh,
'Cause, man,
probably.
they've been playing really good basketball with their new coach. I think it's what's his name, Doc Rivers,
Yeah,
right?
they got Doc Rivers. Yeah, yeah. And Joel Embiid's looking like an MVP.
Yep.
I
And
mean, they did take out the Lakers, so they've been playing pretty good.
I know that they wanted to push for that Harden, but obviously we saw that he went with the Nets. But
Yeah.
how do you think that team would have looked if James Harden would have gone with the 76ers with him and Joel Embiid?
I think it would have been. I think it would have been pretty good, to be honest. You know, um, you surround James with shooters, and you got a big man like Embiid. Like you can't really just focus on James. Embiid, you can't. I haven't really seen anyone that can guard Embiid 1-on-1.
Mhm.
He's got the footwork. He can back you down. He can post you up. He can face you up. He can knock down some threes. I mean, there's offensively, there's not really a weakness to his game. He's too hard to guard. And then on top of that, you got James, basically one of the most unguardable players in NBA. So
The best ISO player.
it would have been it would have been a great. I think it would have been a good team. I think it would have been a really good team um, to go against the Nets with Kyrie and KD.
Yep. I mean, they did pick up Seth Curry,
Mm-hmm.
from the Mavs. I believe
Yeah,
that's their because we saw that whenever they released JJ Redick, which is a very stupid move.
yeah.
JJ Redick is a very good knockdown a 3-point shooter. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you can pick up Seth Curry. I believe that that's what they really needed as well. Because I mean,
Shouldn't.
we haven't really seen that Ben Simmons still hasn't gotten that type of like mid ranger or like a 3-point
Yeah,
shot. Obviously, we that man doesn't shoot threes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, I feel like in order for them to stay on top, I mean, I feel like Ben Simmons has to be a consistent like shooter. Like, just like have a like at least like a mid range. Yeah, I know that he's like he plays very aggressive, and I mean
Mm.
like whenever you have a big man like Joel, it's very like gets very crowded down there. So I mean,
Yeah.
you have to be able to space out that floor.
Yeah, like we said about Seth, he's shooting 51% right now from three.
Yeah,
That is insane, man. That
see,
is,
better than his brother, and stuff.
yeah,
But yeah, man,
that's
like
insane.
I kind of like yeah. The only thing that I don't like about Seth is that he's a liability on defense, just because he's like small compared to like to other guards. But I mean, like he makes
Yeah,
so for like on the offensive side, and like like
yeah.
like you said, like he has like I think you said that he's 52% on the three
51.
or 51. I mean, you really
Yeah.
you need that. Like the 76ers need something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, they got Danny Green, but obviously, like there's times that man can't shoot it. That man can't shoot it.
Yeah.
But we also had like Tobias Harris playing really good basketball
Hmm.
this season too. He
Yeah.
had 27 points this against the Pacers.
Yeah. I just think when, like you said, when Ben, um, because when it does come to playoff time, I mean, the opponent is studying everything about you,
Mhm.
your rhythm, the way you play, um, plays you like to run under 2 minutes, all that kind of stuff. So I think if Ben Simmons is able to knock just a couple threes down when he's left open,
Mhm.
I think that'll be enough to contend with the Nets um,
Because that
in
allows,
that conference finals.
I mean, that will allow, like, obviously, the defense will have to close in on you. You know what I mean?
Just respect the shot.
Yep, exactly. And
Hmm.
like once he, like you said, if he even if he makes a couple, that will force the defender to close in on him, which
Hmm.
allows where you can kick it to Joel, it gives him like it's not that crowded and like in that like underneath that paint, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and
So
even just taking the shots too. Just
even if they don't go in, I mean you
yeah.
know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
sooner or later, like they're gonna go in. They're gonna so like sooner or later that defender's gonna have to come and guard you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But moving on to the Nets, a lot of people have that team favorited, coming out of the East. But I believe that they gave up too much for James Harden, on the defensive side. Like yeah, you got
Yeah.
another very good offensive player, but you also gave up a lot of your depth. And we
Yeah.
saw Golden State do that whenever they got KD. But that what people don't understand is that team was a very good defensive team. They had Clay, they had Andre, and they had Draymond.
Hmm.
Draymond isn't the player that he is today that he was back then. But back then Draymond was a very good defensive player. And I mean they were able to give up that depth just because they had a decent defensive team.
Hmm.
I mean, obviously with the Nets, they gave up Jarrett Allen, Torian Prince, Karis LeVert.
Yeah.
We give up that that much, like we're gonna see teams knock down like 120 points on them on a daily basis. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very hard. You just if you have if one of those three players have a bad offensive night, that might be game for them. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Well, defensively, they're really bad. I mean,
We saw that with the
they're averaging 120. a game, and that's really bad. I think it's like
Worst.
one of the worst ever.
I mean, we saw
But
what
I
the
mean, you do have the three of the top 10 scorers in the league right now: Kyrie, KD, and James. So a lot of it they can't make it up on the offensive end. But I mean, when it comes down to those late game situations where you do need to stop, that's going to be tough. Like I really don't see who. I really don't see who you're going to put on. Like a Jason Tatum, Joel Embiid, uh, Jimmy Butler. I mean, it's really gonna have to be KD that steps up to guard those forwards.
yeah.
So it's gonna be tough,
I
but
mean,
I think they have enough offensive power to get them to the conference. Most likely the finals, but for sure the conference.
we saw how they lost against the Cleveland Cavaliers, like on back-to-back nights.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Colin Sexton had himself a very good night on one of the. But I mean, like,
Yeah,
can't allow that. I know that the Cavs are like I think like the worst defensive team or the worst offensive team.
offensive team. Yeah,
And I mean, like, you can't allow a very bad offensive team to knock down, I think, like 140 or 120 on you. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So, like, yeah, like they gave up, like you said, like, who's gonna guard that forward position? Who's gonna guard that big man position? Because obviously
yeah,
Jordan isn't the same as he was back then.
yeah. Because I mean, in playoff time, it's all about mismatches.
Exactly.
I mean, if they run against the 76ers, I mean, Joel Embiid is gonna fucking torch them.
Yep.
Like he's gonna get 30 every game,
I
30
feel,
and 15, most like 30 points, 15 rebounds.
and I feel like even like like going with the 76ers, like I feel like Ben Simmons might have himself a night against them. Like,
Yeah,
he's bigger and stronger than James Harden than Kyrie Irving.
yeah.
He's like he's basically like a small forward playing the point guard.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So like, are you gonna have Joe Harris on him? Are you gonna have KD on him? Like, you know what I mean? But
Yeah,
then Joel,
yeah.
obviously, the matchup might be like Kyrie and Seth, but is James gonna guard Ben? Like, obviously Ben Simmons is faster than James.
They'll probably have James on Joe Harris. I mean, I'm sorry.
James
What's it
and
called? James on most likely. Um, I believe Danny Green.
mhm.
Um, they'll probably move. They'll probably have Jeff Green guard Ben Simmons. Isn't their lineup? Isn't it Kyrie, James, KD, Jeff Green, and DeAndre? Or is it Joe Harris and then Jeff Green center?
No, it's actually obviously it's Kyrie, James, Kevin, no, Joe Harris, Kevin, and DeAndre.
DeAndre, okay, yeah. So,
Jeff Green coming off as a six man.
mhm. Yeah. So I for sure James is gonna guard most likely. If it comes down to that, he's probably gonna guard Danny Green. Someone who's not a big offensive threat.
Okay. What did you think of Westbrook's game that game? Westbrook's game that game.
He had a hell of a game, man. I mean, he's says he's been playing on one leg the whole season, so
Yeah.
because he had that quad injury. But that was one game he did look like really healthy, look explosive again. Um, yeah, man, he was looking nice. He was actually hitting some shots. Bradley Beal was doing his thing. In the beginning of the game, Bradley Beal was just kind of like out of it. Like you could tell, like um, he was sitting away from the team in the huddle. He was just kind of standing around during the game. Like, he wasn't really in the game until late. But he still ended up dropping like 30 points, I believe. So I
Yeah.
mean, Bradley Beal is just having himself a fucking season.
Exactly. Do you think that he should leave? That he should request a trade?
Um, I think from here, you kind of just see how Westbrook plays.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, it is the Nets, and they're giving up a little points, but that's still like a huge uh, confidence build and like booster. Because I mean, it's Kyrie, James, and KD. Like those are three really gifted offensive players, most likely coming out of the East. So if they can make like a little run, who knows, they might be able to keep creeping into the 8th seed, 7th seed. They still got a lot of games to go. I think they still maybe have like 50 games, 40 games.
Mhm.
So you still got the whole half of the season, so you can still go on some run here and there. Who knows? There'll be a team to bless you. There'll be a team to be a threat in the East, a lower seed.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think that Russ will ever go back to shooting. I mean, he shot 57% from the three.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll have himself that type of night again. Where he shoots
Mhm.
seven off the three.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my problems, one of the things that I see, that I see, a lot of people saying oh, get Bradley Beal out of there. I mean, that man did agree to an extension. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
He knew what he was getting into.
exactly. I know that it's a player dominant. What is it? A player league.
Hmm.
Like he signed that extension. He knew what that team had. You know, last year I think they were saying that it was John Wall or something like that. But I mean, like you said, he knew what he was getting into. He knew that it wasn't that great of a team. So you can't really it sucks to see where he's dropping 30 plus points per a night, but at the same
Hmm.
time, you sign that extension. I
I
don't
think he just signed it this past off season or before the one before, I believe. So it's pretty recent.
I think it was last off season because it doesn't start till this at the end of this year.
Uh, yeah.
And like I said, I mean, it just sucks. You know what I mean? Yeah, I feel you. A team will trade you just like that. But I mean, you knew what was around you at that time. You already knew whether or not it was a playoff, it was a contending team, or just a playoff.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? You can't just be
Yeah.
I give up on this team after just signing that extension.
Yeah. But like I said, it's still pretty early. If Russ can get in a little bit of a groove, and I mean Bradley's gonna put up 30 a night, like easily.
Yeah,
Um, if Russ can get his game back on track, then I see him making playoffs. It'll probably be like a higher seed, like probably 5 and up, like 5, 6, 7, 8. But I think they can creep into the playoffs, and who knows? It's the playoffs.
exactly. Yeah, you're right. I mean, basketball is different in the playoffs. We saw.
Yeah.
And moving on to the last subject of the podcast. I mean, I don't know if you were watching the Suns versus the Mavs, but I saw the last 5 minutes of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I think it was 106 to 106, and Devin Booker hit a mid range. No, it was a 104 to 106, the last 50 seconds of the game, and
Mm-hmm.
Devin Booker hit a mid range. But there were it went into review because Aiton, I think, yeah, right, Aiton, Aiton,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. He did an offensive foul where a loose ball. He
Yeah.
positioned himself for that rebound, but you know what I mean. Obviously, the basket still counted because it happened after Devin Booker shot, and
Mm-hmm.
then the Mavs came back and they drained the two, and then well, yeah, man. One of the things I've never seen happen with Chris Paul is he split the defense really good, and in order to tie up the game to 108, yeah, because I think it was 108 to 106 at that time. Yeah, 108 to 106,
Mm-hmm.
and like I said, Chris Paul split the defense, had a wide open layup, man, and he missed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, Aiden could like could have done that putback, but he missed as well. But thankfully,
Hmm.
one of the well, I don't want to say thankfully, obviously, uh, from Dallas, but I mean um, but yeah, like thankfully for the Suns is what I meant to say. Like if
Hmm.
like the Mavs, like I don't know if it was Maxi who who touched the ball and made it go out of bounds,
I think
but
it was, yeah.
after that, what's it called? Like, on the throw in, they gave it to Chris Paul. Like you're saying, like whenever we're talking about the Bucks, he's such a facilitator and just like I don't want to say offensive threat, but he can be an offensive threat. And I mean, just like I think he had I don't want to say he was double teamed, but
He got the switch on the pick and roll.
exactly. And
Yeah.
led Devin Booker to get a wide open, not a wide open three, but just like a quick second. And I mean,
Yeah.
Devin Booker needs, and he just
Made
drained
another shot.
it. Yep, and he drained that.
Mm.
And I mean, the Mavs called timeout, and they tried to do the same thing for Luca, but Luca missed, and that's how the Suns won the game. But going back to the Mavs, how like a lot of people were saying that the Mavs were going to be like a top four contender, and maybe Luca winning the MVP. But we're seeing
Hmm.
that they're struggling this season. Early on the season.
Yeah.
I know that at the beginning they were missing KP because of the injury. Do you think they'll pick it up later, past the mid season, or how do you see the Mavs, this year?
Um, I think the Mavs to be a contender. Um, I mean, they shouldn't have released Seth first of all, but they need more defense. Because Luca's not. I mean, I get it. Luca's like the whole. You're basically running your whole offense. Uh, but Luca's not guarding anyone. I mean, you kind of have to live with that. I mean, uh, but if you have, if it's basically 4-on-5 on defense, I mean, you gotta get another great defender. Um, and I mean, right now I think Luca's just he's putting up great numbers. Um, but it's just they need um, probably need another good shooter around there. I'm surprised. I honestly don't know why the Mavs aren't looking to get JJ Redick because JJ Redick is in trade talks. But it's looking like now. I think it's Philly, Brooklyn, and the Celtics who are interested in Redick. So those will all be like great fits for him anywhere he goes. But I don't know why the Mavs aren't pushing a little bit harder for JJ Redick just to give Luca. Luca's gonna um,
25 plus.
have all eyes on him when
Yeah,
he drives in. So Luca can find the open guy pretty easy. So I think if JJ would be a nice replacement to Seth.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, I think they need another shooter, another pretty good defender to be like contention to come out of the West.
And I mean, like you were saying, like yeah, like Luka might not be like the best defender, but we've seen moments where he can be a pretty good defender. I don't
Mm-hmm.
a lead defender, but
Yeah,
that that type of defense from him on a consistent night.
yeah,
To piggyback what you were saying, I mean, like yeah, like losing like a shooter like Seth, they need to pick up somebody like him. You were saying that JJ is in trade rumors, and I mean, like you said, they're not pushing for him, but I mean, we've seen teams like this where they want to just center their offense or their team just off for one player, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, I don't know what's going on with the Mavs, man. Like last year they were very good, but it doesn't look like they're doing too hot this year. Or I know
yeah.
you said that it's still early, but I mean, hopefully, like they'll be able to pick it up. like after the All Star break, if there is an All Star, if there is an All Star game this year,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like with all these like postponed games and stuff like that, that COVID, like due to COVID and stuff, I feel like that
Mm-hmm.
like that also might be like a reason. So I feel like some of their games have been postponed as well,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean that's another like less time where your offense can settle now that KP is back.
Yeah, but I mean, LA had this way too. Everyone's facing the same issue.
Yeah,
Everyone's going through the delays, the um, cancellation. So
mhm,
yeah, you can't really just put it on one team like you. The whole league's going through that. So
mhm.
you just gotta find. I mean, just like I said, it's still pretty early. But they gotta find a rhythm soon. Or if not, I mean, the West is packed, so they could easily. It's gonna come down to those last couple games. And I mean, they do have the playing game. I'm not saying they're not gonna make playoffs, but you got to get on a run pretty soon for the Mavs.
I'm trying to see right now. I'm looking at the standings to see where they're sitting at right now. And
Mm-hmm.
right now they're actually the 13th.
Yeah, wow, damn.
Yeah.
Second to last, isn't it?
What's that?
Isn't it second to last? Third to last?
Yeah, second. No, yeah, third to last.
I mean, that's
The Pelicans and the Timberwolves underneath them. I mean, they've only won like I think the last um the last 10 they went 2 for 8, which is terrible. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
a team of that caliber.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I'm looking at like the ninth through 12th seed. They're not that. They're easily they're a team. The ninth seed is the Rockets, 10th the Spurs, Kings with the
Mm-hmm.
11th, and then Thunder. I feel like the Mavs have a better team than them. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
feel yeah, at least like like the shit. Even Golden State is with like at the seventh seed, and I mean they don't have
Mm-hmm.
like what I mean. Like yeah, like they have James Wiseman, like who's a very good pickup for them. Like, I feel like he had himself a very good night. I think like on the last two games, not the game previous to what they just played right now, but
Mm-hmm.
previous to that. But I mean like the Mavs have the potential to be at least like the 5 or 6 seed, and for
Yeah.
them not to be up there, I mean that's kind of sad to see.
Yeah. Like I said, they can't really guard anyone.
Yeah, they're basically like the Western Conference team of the Nets, the Western
Yeah.
version of the Nets.
And I mean, they don't have the offense as a net, so it's like you're kind of losing both. That's why you're losing so many games.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Tim Hardaway's not really a great defender.
Mhm.
Josh Richardson's it's okay. Um, KP's pretty good, but I mean, you can't just have one good defender on starting five because that's just gonna it's
Yeah,
not good.
right now I'm looking at. I'm not sure who their starting five is, but I mean, right now I'm looking at their roster, and I mean, I don't see anybody who will guard like a player like Paul George, like LeBron, and
Mm-hmm.
like like just like maybe like a Damian Lillard, if it comes to that
Mm-hmm. Yep.
shit, maybe even like like Steph or like Devin,
Jamal Murray, Devin
Jamal,
Booker,
even Chris
all
Paul.
of them. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man. Hopefully they pick it up after the All Star game.
Yeah, man. And CP's been having, you can already tell the impact he's been having on the Suns, man.
Yeah,
That's gonna be a good ass team in the playoffs.
and man, I like I like the like I hate that a lot of people were saying, oh man, like whenever he was with the Houston, like that was like that supposedly that's the worst contract, but then he went to OKC
Mm-hmm.
and he took them to the playoffs. You know what I mean? And then now he went to the Suns, and he's I don't want to say he made the Suns better because they already had good players, but I mean,
Nah, he did.
what, yeah, well, I guess so. But like I meant like to say like well, yeah, because he's bringing the best out of him. You know what I mean? Like he's a
Hmm.
very good facilitator. So like he's gonna find you that open man.
Yeah, I think CP is like Devin Booker is benefiting a lot off CP,
Mhm.
um, just off like knowledge of the game, all that kind of stuff. Um, CP is putting him and Aiden in great positions to like get their buckets, get them. So and CP is like a true definition of a point guard. He's really just looking team first.
Mhm.
Um, Even though he's like 6 feet, man, he's a great defender. Uh, he's a great pickup, man. They're gonna be a good team coming out of the West.
And I
I
like
wouldn't be surprised if they end up in the conference finals.
and I like that, man, because like I mean, a lot of people were saying like that like Devin Booker should leave the Suns, but like now
Hmm.
he picked up like like another guard like Chris Paul,
Hmm.
and like he's benefiting off of that, and I mean like like you said, we're seeing that impact.
Hmm. And that's gonna come. So like a lot of people probably won't seem um, that beneficial right now, but when it comes to like playoff times, late games, um, CP's been through that,
Yeah,
and he's gonna teach Book. He's gonna teach Book, Aiden, all them guys. He's gonna get him ready for the playoffs. And I mean, he took the Thunder. I mean, he took Houston to 7 games last year.
yep,
Houston was obviously the better team, but he took them with. Thunder has a really even this year they just don't quit. They're a really good like gritty team with Shea and all the people that they got there. They're a really nice young team. And I mean, CP just added that to already a good ass shooter with Devin Booker and an up and coming big man like Aiden. So it's gonna be a good team.
I'm seeing his stat, like that he had tonight. He got himself 34 points, man. Like that shit's fucking crazy, you know.
Well, CP or D Book?
Chris Paul, CP.
Mm.
I mean, that's fucking crazy, like you said, like not only is he a really good facilitator, but he's also like a very good scorer.
Hmm.
He had himself he shot 57 as well from the three, 4 for 7. And Devin Booker, obviously, he's a monster from the three. Shot himself 50%. That's fucking crazy, man.
Yeah.
Like hopefully like this team continues to be good.
Yeah, man. They'll for sure be in contention.
But anyways, that's a wrap. I know this episode is gonna be pretty long.
Oh shit, yeah.
Compared to the other two. I appreciate you for joining me, man. Hopefully you can come back soon. It'd be pretty dope, to have you as a constant, like guest here, like in the podcast.